Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
Welcome to RAVE Austin. My name is Eric Smith. I'm the owner and president of Redwood Art Group. I'm here with Hannah Smith, our social media manager.
We've got quite the lineup tonight, but we wanted to take a second and thank everyone for participating and joining us for our past 4 RAVE events. We really couldn't do it without you all. We hope that you enjoy these last 4 events and really feel a little bit more of a sense of community in the Redwood family. And we are so ready to get back to live events, and we know you guys are too.
September 10th in Brooklyn.
That's right.
We want to thank Mazan Pomery. They're again our sponsor. And we're so happy to have them sponsoring our RAVE events. I'll take a sip.
And you just watched an amazing video of the art installations they do throughout Maison Pomery in Champagne, France.
Pomery has been a major player in the world of art since its creation, and to stay faithful to the memory of Madame Pomery, they continue exhibiting contemporary art as the main thrust of their patronage. So you saw that video, all the art in the cellars, with the wine being stored. I mean, I can't wait to get back over to France and visit their vineyard.
Me too. So make sure to check out the Pomery story under the sponsors tab. And tonight we are coming to you from Palm Desert, California, and I'm coming to you live from Austin, Texas. But more importantly, we want to know where you are all tuning in from. So let us know in the chat box on the right side of your screen, and feel free to make comments, ask questions in the chat throughout tonight's program, and we will be sure to answer them. We will also be posting the booth links in the chat as we introduce each artist we're featuring. And if you are live streaming on the RAVE website and want to check out the RAVE exhibitors booth page, make sure to open up a new tab so you can continue listening to us while visiting their booth pages.
And there's a guest book on each artist page. If you like the work, or you're interested in talking to the artist or setting an appointment to talk to them about a certain piece, fill out the guest book. They'll love it. And something new we have added for RAVE Austin, if you go to the home page and you scroll down, you'll see a virtual gallery, and you can actually walk through like you're inside of an art fair. And there's instructions on how to navigate through each person's booth. It's really kind of cool, easy peasy. And when you want to get out, just hit escape. When you buy from the Redwood Marketplace, remember there's free freight if you're shipping in the United States.
So sit back, grab a cocktail or a drink of choice, and enjoy the next hour or so. And we're going to kick it off with our first art talk, and it is summer. So joining our conversation tonight is Julie Schumer, James Koskinis, David Disco, and Julia Ross as they discuss their Southwest inspirations. Much more than Kachina dolls, pottery, and blankets. It really is the place that gives them the space to explore their creativity. So let's learn a little bit about what each of these Southwest artists have to say about their Southwest inspirations. Well, thank you all so much for being here tonight, and we'll jump right into the questions. So first, we want to know, what drew everyone to the Southwest? And Julia, we'll start with you.
Well, I was born here. I was born in San Antonio, moved to Houston, then Austin. I stayed here. Love it. Other than not being, we're a little landlocked in Dallas, so not being right by the ocean, which is my favorite. We make many trips there. Daughter lives in California now, but we spend a lot of time Florida, around the Gulf of Mexico. So, I was born here.
Good answer. And Julie and James, what about you both?
Well, for me, I first visited Santa Fe in about 1993 or 4. And the minute we arrived downtown, I was entranced with the place and never ceased to be entranced. And I always knew I wanted to come and live here one day. And then about 10 years later, when I have a big change of life circumstances, I decided it was time for an adventure. And so kind of coerced James into moving here. And we've been here for almost 19 years.
I love it. And what about you, David?
Well, yeah, I'd like to tell you that it was the turquoise skies and the endless vistas that brought me here. But the fact of the matter is, I moved here to start a building business, which I did do for a long period of time, and have stayed, and very glad I have. And getting back into the art business couldn't be a better place.
I agree. Well, we can see a little bit of the Southwest inspiration through all your pieces, definitely.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I love all of your great painters, and the work is just terrific. So what artists have inspired you? David, let's start with you.
Well, I would cite three. One is Charles Birchfield. The second is Kerry James Marshall, and the third is now it's got to come to me here. Well, let me back up. Birchfield, the artists that I find interesting are involved, have an interest in a sense of place. And Birchfield is from upstate New York and lived in that part of the world for a very long time. He documents the things around him, but in a mystical, transcendental way that I think is unparalleled. Kerry James Marshall, South Central LA, during the turbulent period of the late 60s, early 70s. His documentary of that area is just amazing. And then the last person is James Levitt, who's also an Angelino, and documents the Los Angeles area through the filter of Hollywood. Their sense of place is amazing. And I would add one thing as a nod to Redwood and the new the live shows coming up. I saw retrospectives of Kerry James Marshall and Levitt at the LA MoCA. Absolutely amazing. There's nothing like seeing art live.
So true. We can't wait to get back to live events. I was actually, this is kind of a funny story. It's totally off track here, but a friend of ours here wants to install some glass work on, those floating glass pieces that people make, right? And I couldn't remember the artist's name that I know, but I know that Gary Tracek knows him, and Gary lives in Miami. So I texted Gary this morning. I'm like, hey, what's that artist's name with the glass pieces? And all of a sudden I get a picture back. He's with me now. We're doing an installation. And I'm like, oh, that's so great. Art keeps selling, and people are now getting out there and doing stuff. So we're happy about that. How about you, Julia? What artists have inspired you?
Well, I think initially it was the 50s abstract expressionists. But then when we came to Santa Fe and started going to a lot of the shows here, early on, there were a group of Santa Fe artists that I found very inspirational. Reg Loving, a guy named Sam Scott, Frank Ettenberg, Eugene Newman. They had many shows here in the early days that we were here. And I just loved all of their work. Their work really reflected a sense of the Southwest to me. Especially Reg Loving had a lot of, imagery in his work that was that way. And Sam Scott was a wonderful abstract expressionist. Sadly, none of them really show here anymore. I think, I'm not sure all of them are still alive, but they were an incredibly inspirational group to start out with here.
And James?
Well, let me just go back a quick story, because Julie didn't really have to force me to come to Santa Fe. We wanted to come to, this was a mecca. This was like a huge thing we were doing. We were going to come here and be great artists. And we were so impressed when we saw Canyon Road and the galleries and the artists. And as we were leaving, there's this guy in a red Ford truck putting his painting in that truck. And I said, I want to be that guy, Julie. That's the guy I want to be now. And I ended up with a red Ford truck.
Not long after that.
And then every time, then I'm putting my paintings in there. I'm fulfilling this, we considered it destiny. like fate. We're coming to this incredible place. We're making this huge life change. You don't have to twist our arm. We're all down for it. This is going to be the greatest experience of our lives. And it has turned out that way, you know.
Definitely.
And so that's my story of getting here. And I'm basically a person who just lets unexpected things happen to me. And if they're good, I go with it. And along with Julie, the art scene here was just fertile with these old abstract guys. And I mean old, like they were probably 60s and 70s. The work was so fantastic and so modern. And all these shows like we went to just inspired us so much. And we were able to pick up a thread from, see, I'm a big German expressionist fan. I think you all know that. And Julie's a 40s and 50s abstract fan. And so we started seeing the connection between what was happening right in front of our eyes and all the things we read about and dreamed about. And so we had like this whole new set of heroes, and we were off and running.
Nice. How about you, Julia? Do you have any favorite artists?
I do. You know, my mom. No. My mother is a prolific artist. She's, you know, I was blessed to grow up around artists and sculptors. My father-in-law is a civil engineer and a well-known sculptor. He's passed now, but both of them were very inspiring to me, among others. Current Lawrence Osborne in New Orleans. We go there every Thanksgiving, and his bright colors and fluid lines, incredible artist. He's now in the Children's Museum. They've modeled children's architecture after him, just very fluid lines, very bright colors, vibrant guy, real inspiration, I think.
Nice. And you know, people think of Southwest, they think of like those woven baskets and Kachina dolls and blankets and things, but there's so much more. So David, why don't you tell us what you're working on right now?
Well, the work that I do has to do with my own sense of place. And my sense of place is Albuquerque, New Mexico. We live near the river. I walk near the river virtually, you know, every week. Walk around the neighborhood and just kind of poke around. But you know, it's the architecture, the suburban architecture that you know, with the amazing skies and the intersection between those two things, for me is a never-ending source of inspiration. Skies here change all the time. They're dramatic, they're amazing. You know, you just can't go wrong, and it's just endless.
Well, I'm going to give you each a compliment right now. David, it's your work is so identifiable, and so many artists come to, I mean, we deal with 1,000 artists every year, you know, and they always ask me the same question, especially the younger ones that come to the show. You know, how can I be successful? And you've got to create something identifiable. I mean, if you think of a Picasso, you think of a Picasso or a Renoir or a Monet, right? I mean, all these, you think of even Warhol, right? You know, it's a screen printed Warhol. But your work is so identifiable. I love it. Same with James and the figurative work with the horses, and Julie, your abstracts, and Julia, your seascapes and skyscapes. You guys have really nailed it. And that's why you're successful and on this call right now. So just a little tip of the hat to all of you there.
Thanks.
Thanks.
So there was one other artist, Stephen Robeck, who he resides in Santa Fe. He couldn't be with us today because he's out on a photo safari, he calls it. But he sent an amazing 1-minute video of some of his favorite Southwest locations. So we're gonna play that for everyone now. And then everybody watching, I wanna remind you that if you wanna see more of David's work, Julia's work, or James and Julie's, you can go on the RAVE site and you know, search for their name, and there's I think 28 artists we have up during this RAVE Austin, and you can get directly in touch with them to purchase the work, and we encourage you to do that. So let's play the video.
Greetings all. Sorry I can't join you live from my studio. We left Santa Fe a few days ago on a photo safari in Arizona, but I did want to share a favorite destination here in the Southwest. At the end of a long photo trip that included Taos, Georgia O'Keeffe's magical ghost ranch, and several truly abandoned ghost towns, we first visited White Sands National Monument. In southern New Mexico, a long day's drive from Austin, it's a fantastic place, especially for photographers. The dunes are white as snow because they're not actually made of sand like most dunes. They're made of gypsum, the same material used to make wallboard. And since the area sits above 4,000 feet in elevation, the skies are often a deep, rich blue. There are endless opportunities to find dramatic dunescapes and abstract images that capture the unique way the dunes move and change in wind and weather. Some of these textures present an optical illusion I still don't understand. Many images look like drifts of snow or scoops of melted ice cream sitting on the surface, but in fact, they're the hollows of weathered footprints. Strange but beautiful. If you're ever in the area, don't miss it. I hope you enjoyed seeing these images from White Sands, and thanks for tuning in to RAVE Focus Austin.
And thank you everyone for being with us today. It's been really great to talk to you and see your faces, and we hope to see you soon at one of our Redwood upcoming live fairs. And again, for those watching, make sure to visit these artists' booth pages, send them a note, and let them know in their guest book when you find a piece that you really love. Thank you all so much.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
It was really fun getting to chat with all of those artists. They're so unique and they have such distinct pieces. So it was a lot of fun.
I was like totally into that video.
I know.
Like Stephen Robeck should be on the PBS network. His narration was really good. That was entertaining and fun to watch. I don't even know where we are on the script now, Hannah. I'm totally lost. I think we're going to go take a look at contemporary artist Rita Hisar, and her portraits of famous artists are fantastic. And she's another artist that has really captured a signature look. When I looked at her work, I thought, oh yeah, she's got it. She's really nailed it. So let's play the video. It's about 3 minutes long.
And I'm a contemporary artist based in Toronto, Canada. I love to paint bright, bold, and vibrant paintings. portraits, still life, and figurative art. My style is influenced by expressionism, fauvism, graffiti art, and pop art. My colors are influenced by the beautiful tropical colors of the Caribbean, which I try to visit as often as I can. My goal is to celebrate life with color. I'm always trying to capture the beauty and energy that I feel around me and share with the viewer. There is a lot of negativity in the world today, a lot of challenges with COVID and the economy. I think that positive art, as I call it, has a very important role to play in our society today. We need to feel the power of color, which can change our mood. I don't think art is supposed to make us feel depressed or overwhelmed. I think it should do the opposite. My technique is a combination of control and chaos. I begin with a very controlled sketch, detailed sketch of what I want to paint. I put it onto the canvas and then chaos sets in. I paint layer upon layer of color until I'm satisfied with the work. It's a very intuitive process, and I seldom know exactly what the painting will look like until it's done. I use a palette knife because I like the texture and the intensity of the color, which I just can't get with a paintbrush. If you'd like to see more of my work, you can see it at ritahisar.com or visit me at Instagram at ritahisar. Thank you.
There
I
you
love
go.
her work. It's so cool. And I love the colors so much.
Did you see our old dog in there?
Yeah. I know that does look like our old dog. So
Yeah.
make sure to check out Rita's booth and browse more of her artwork. And next up, let's take a stroll to some of Austin's best contemporary art galleries. Meet Todd Gressley from AO5 Gallery, Sam Davidson from Say My Name PR, and Mateo and Clayton from Mesmerize, which is a really cool, art installation here in Austin. So whether it's a landscape, an abstract, a sculpture, or an immersive art experience, you can count on being engaged by these Austin cultural experts and their art-filled stories. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And Austin is on all of the top travel industry's list of top 10 places to visit in 2021. Part of the have to be there destination vibe is the art scene. So can you guys tell us a little bit about what's happening in Austin right now?
There's a lot of stuff happening in Austin right now. The big part of what we're involved in is sort of the redefining of the brand of the city from live music capital of the world to the immersive art capital of the world, because there's just so much of it happening here now. It's what we do. It's what we've been doing for a long time. We produce events, and then we also have pop-up experience that we have been doing around town for the past year. And yeah, I mean, with South by doing what they did for the past few decades, and with Austin being as lively and vibrant of a city as it is everybody's moving here now. And now that the pandemic is sort of coming to a close, things are really picking up in a whole new way, that like the momentum of the city is at a new level. Even though it felt like it's been going crazy for a long time, right now it really feels like, the city is on fire in a good way, and we're really going to see some interesting and then fun changes here over the next few years.
Yeah, I think we just looked at the population went up from 980,000 to almost 2 million people within a year, which is crazy. So everyone's coming here, it seems. So it's definitely a hot place to be.
Everybody's leaving California.
I guess so.
I mean,
Up their U-Hauls.
there's no state income tax in Texas, so Californians like that. I mean, they are upping our housing prices. But I mean, again, I said it earlier before we went live that, you know, there's 503, literally it's 503 people on average a week moving into Austin. And if you really do the math on that, that's like an incredible number. Like you guys said, we're almost at 2 million or whatever now. But those people are coming to Austin. They have money and they're hungry to design their homes and buy art. And so that's where we all come in.
And hire a publicist.
Everybody loves entertainment, and that's where we come in.
Yeah.
And Sam, can you give us a little bit about what's going on in Austin as well?
I mean, we work with, we're a lifestyle PR agency. So we hit all the aspects of the ways that you can gauge how the city has changed. I mean, we work with restaurants, we work with retailers, we work with architects. You know, architects are incredibly busy, obviously, because a lot of people are moving here, and because this is a creative city that attracts a creative class, you know, they're looking for something kind of specific too. People who come here are looking for, you know, something that's, you know, a certain aspect of design, or they have specific tastes, you know. So I think that's something that we're noticing, is that this used to be kind of a sleepy, maybe a little edgy, fun, artistic town back in the 90s or 70s, 80s and 90s. And now it's become more sophisticated, and there's definitely a different, you know, there's more people, but they also maybe have expanded tastes. And so more restaurants, more galleries, more, you know, more things to do, you know. So it's definitely kind of changed the vibe in this town. And, you know, a lot of the restaurants that you see here now, you wouldn't have seen in this town maybe 10, 15 years ago. So I think that, you know, it's definitely, the change has been very rapid, and the pace at which that change has come, you know, some people aren't exactly excited about it. There's definitely people who long for the days, you know, the old days. But, you know, the scene here is definitely, it's exciting, and there's a lot of new and interesting things going on, just by the sheer fact that it attracts experiential. It used to be just going down the street and seeing a naked guy on a bike was how you had experiential art in Austin. But, you know, now people are actually creating these moments that you can experience, and there's a narrative attached to them, and it's an artistic experience, as opposed to, you know, some of the more interesting characters, which they're still here, don't get me wrong. But that used to be, you know, the Austin experience, the artistic experience, if you will. But now that's changed. And so it's exciting for someone like me, because I get to appreciate, you know, I get to appreciate film, and I get to appreciate, you know, visual art, and but I also get to engage and represent businesses that are doing really interesting, kind of groundbreaking, or at least, you know, creative things in a lot of different spaces, like food and like beverage and retail, fashion, design, etc.
So Todd, tell us a little bit about your gallery. It's A05, right?
That's right.
And,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, has your art changed over the last 15 years, or, you know, or are you representing the same artists? Has it changed because more people are coming into, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And it's a really big question, and I'll explain why, and I'll keep it really short because I'm long-winded. In 1998, Art on Fifth was on Fifth Street. And I used to go do vintage poster weekends there, because I ran a gallery in Houston. I would drive to Austin and do these vintage poster weekends. And I met the guy who started Art on Fifth, my friend Joe. And throughout the years, I ended up moving overseas. I was in Australia, and I was in Norway. I was working for Global Fine Arts and in all these different countries, and it was wonderful. But I came back to the United States in 2013. And the owner had moved the gallery from Fifth Street to South Lamar, where we are now. We're in the 78704, as you know, everybody calls it the 04, the South Side, where I used to lock my doors in the 90s driving through town. And now it's like sort of this, one of the ideal places to be. We're right next to the Broken Spoke, like 2 blocks from the Broken Spoke. Anyway, long story short is that he kept the name Art on Fifth on South Lamar, and the branding wasn't working. We got 15 phone calls a day, people saying, "Where are you located? My Uber driver's kidnapping me. This is Bone Collector," you know, just crazy things. And so I changed the brand to AO5 because I figured I could do AO5 Dallas, AO5 New Orleans, AO5 Indianapolis, which is actually a very cosmopolitan city now, which is happening all over the world. So I had to let a lot of artists go that were part of Art on Fifth Street. Because, you know, Fifth Street, there's a lot of galleries on Fifth and Sixth Street West area that are a bit bougie. Some are really cosmopolitan, some are really cool, but there's a vibe of, you know, the art galleries in that area. And here we are on this funky South Side, and I had to change it up a bit. And I brought in Jermaine Rogers, a Houstonian Texan, very popular for his concert posters and whatnot, flat stock and all those things. And I started bringing in artists that I had met around the world. Like when I was in Egypt or when I was in Argentina, I brought in artists from around the world. So AO5 has become an international art gallery and the largest contemporary art gallery in Texas. But I brought in Austin people, Houston people, Texans. I brought in US and around the world. So the art's changed a lot. To get finally to answer your question, I needed you to see the evolution of why I had to change it. And I had to make it where I don't even let my employees dress nice at work. That's changed in Austin too. Celebrities come in trying to hide and then they feel welcome. I play really loud music in the gallery so people don't hear their footsteps and they can talk. If they don't like something or do like something, they can actually talk. I made it very casual and comfortable. And yeah, the art's changed a ton. I have an Israeli artist hanging next to a dead artist. I got Salvador Dali hanging next to a local guy who just started. It's really exciting in there. And I love being different in the art world. There's not salespeople hounding you and vulturing you. It's just, you come in. A lot of people ask how much the admission is. They come in, they go, or even they say, can we come in? I'm like, we're like at Barnes and Noble, but we have art. Like it's a shop, come in. And they're relieved that they're not being hounded, or there's not a salesperson asking how much money they've got and what it's just people buy the art because it's every price point too. I've got things that are $25 to $250,000. I've got everything because I think art is for all people. And Austin is proof that it's all people. Austin doesn't have a class of people. It's just, I don't want to say it's a bunch of weirdos, but the fact that if you put random 5 people next to each other, it'd be weird because we're all so very different in Austin. And that's what I wanted the gallery to be like. So that's been my goal, and I did it.
Well, congrats.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
And tell us about Mesmerize, Clayton and Mateo. What's that painting? What's that painting behind you?
Oh, this is just we're in our office right now. This is just our front lobby area. So this is just a wall that we painted.
Clay and I got crafty one day.
But yeah, so Mesmerize, we just closed down our pop-up location that we just had, and we're currently in the middle of relocating into a permanent location. So big plans there here in Austin still. But Mesmerize started in the end of 2018 as an event series. We've been installation artists, and I come from a music background, and he comes from a video and photography background and projection mapping. And then we both have been in the production world of live events for a long time. So we started Mesmerize as an event series where we produce, we call them traveling dance party and art experiences. So they were big, heavily populated events with DJs and immersive art installations. And we would have a curated experience of live painters and an artisan vendor market. And from there, we sort of built the brand of Mesmerize. And those shows were going pretty well for our first year and a half or so. And then the pandemic hit. So we had to stop all activity in that regard and sort of reevaluate our situation. And the venue we were working with at the time allowed us to have a chance to sort of activate their open and empty event space. So we transformed their event space that they weren't able to use because it was the middle of the pandemic as well. And they gave us this, we sort of set a goal for, let's do something for 3 months and see if anything works. And so we spent last summer, just the two of us, like 14-hour days, just the two of us making and designing the concept, and then physically building the infrastructure for the layout, and then most of the art itself, as well as doing all of the electrical rigging for lighting and the programming for projection mapping and developing the storyline, all those things. And then we ran for 8 months, and it was a huge success for the community and for us. And so now we're working on relocating into a permanent spot.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
I'd love
great.
to check it out too.
For sure. Yeah, we're definitely still looking for a permanent location. And whenever we did open, you know, at first we were like very hesitant because we were like, there's a pandemic happening. Who's going to come? And it took a little nudging on the owner, just like, well, what else are we doing? So he was like, well, even if we sell 1 ticket an hour, like it's better than what we're doing now. So we kind of just went in with that mindset of just like, we're not doing anything now, might as well create and see what the buzz is, and you know, see how it turns out. And whenever we first opened up, it was 10 tickets an hour, and now or we just closed, but it turned into 15 tickets every 30 minutes and being allowed
That's
to
great.
have an hour into the space.
Can I ask you guys a question? I'm sorry to jump in.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Just because it's a kind of an Austin question, because we're all brothers in Austin and sisters in Austin. Where are you guys looking for a permanent location? I'm just curious because the neighborhoods are so. I remember when Austin was a tiny town in the 90s, like, and now, you know, we were considering relocating again, which is a whole subject. But where are you guys thinking about? Are you guys like, you have a place you really want to be, but you can't, or what's going on with that?
Well, without revealing too much and jinxing ourselves, because we're still in the middle of like trying to secure the actual location itself right now. But we're working on acquiring a very large building and plot on the east side. It's a great location. And this is kind of our, you know, for Austin location, it is kind of like a dream spot right now. It's a very big project for us. But at the same time, we did look at several other buildings around town in different neighborhoods that we enjoy. And, you know, first off, things are just really expensive right now. So this is a whole new like approach to our everything that we do is just figuring out how to be in the position to actually execute the thing. If for whatever reason, you know, we can't get this dream spot, we can always reevaluate and rebuild anywhere. The way that we come from an events background, so we're used to working in any building or any like sort of space as our blank canvas.
So you guys are good. You're good at the drive. You know how to get make it as I like to call AO5 gallery. It's a destination gallery. So there are people that don't want to go south of the river, but they're going to have to come see my gallery. Right. And you guys are doing the same thing. Like you're going to be like a destination place. Like no matter where you guys go, they're going to come. Basically.
You need a benefactor with a giant building.
There you go.
Well, you know, that might be a possibility.
I mean, it's not too far. It's right in the east side, so
yeah, it's still
pretty central
inside the loop.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here I am, you know, talking about Austin. I'm at my house in Houston. Houston, if I want to go, let's say to a bar that's my favorite bar, I'm in the Galleria area, and the bar is 7 miles away. It's like a hop, skip, and a jump. But in Austin, if it's 7 miles away, it's like, oh God, it's 7 miles away.
Yeah, we're from San Antonio originally, so it's the same thing down there.
Yeah.
Oh, and San Antonio will be, you guys, you know, San Antonio is going to be the new Fort Worth, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin. It's all connected now. And half of my clients now are from San Antonio, Buda, the whole area, Buda, whatever it's called. I don't know. But yeah, San Antonio is dope for art, but it's coming up. I have a San Antonio artist in Austin that sells really well. And Austin people are like, who's this guy? Like, it's turning into Austin. I love it. Anyway, I was just curious about you guys because I mean, Austin's neighborhoods are. I mean, I remember staying at this Holiday Inn in the '90s, close to Rainey Street, when Rainey Street was all houses, and people would wave at me when I was, you know, driving through their neighborhood to get to Art on Fifth when it was on Fifth Street, and now Rainey Street, you know, bars and whatnot. And
they just sold the last house. They're demolishing the last house on Rainey Street. It was the one holdout guy. It's gone.
The one holdout. Yeah, now he's got like millions.
Millions.
Well, maybe that's the benefactor. Maybe he's got a big building somewhere.
Yeah, maybe.
Like he bought.
See a lot of those guys around.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this: when we're ready to do our first art fair, we have 8 art fairs across the country, but none in Austin. When we're ready to go there, I'll talk to Clayton Mateo, you Sam for the PR, and Todd to get some more galleries involved. We'll put it all together at some point, but it's been nice
love it.
chatting with you guys today. It's been really
Yeah.
fun
Thanks for having us.
getting
Thank
to
you
know
for
some
having me.
in-depth stuff about Austin, right, Hannah?
Yeah, it's been great. I moved right before the pandemic, so I'm still kind of new here, but I feel like there's new people moving into the apartment across the street every single day for the last 2 weeks. Like U-Haul coming up, it's insane. So it's exciting though.
Well, hey, welcome to Austin for real.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
totally, all of you guys on the panel, I said you guys because I'm from Indiana, but I've been in Texas for over 20 years, I swear it. So all y'all come to the gallery and meet me and say hi, and let's all get together and let's do some Austin stuff together.
We are, we are in the middle of relocating for our permanent location, but we will be producing Mesmerize pop-up events every month throughout the end of the year. So, follow us on Instagram and keep in touch for all of that.
Yeah, that's dope. I'd love to be a part of that and join you guys and see what's up. I mean,
Our next one is
we've all been
I'll be
starved to do
there.
things, for a year. So let's do some things.
Okay.
Thank you guys
Thanks for
so much.
joining.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care, y'all.
Nice to meet all of you.
You too.
Bye.
Welcome back, Hannah.
That was fun. I loved that one.
I think a lot of connections were made in that art talk because they didn't know each other before we all got together. So something I love about the art world, they can just start talking and, 6 degrees of separation. Well, let's take a trip to Europe and meet with Marcela Levinska-Bareka of Marillion Fine Art. She's recently added new pieces for her RAVE booth, incorporating her travel experiences. So her work, she travels to a lot of different countries, takes a little snippet of that country and then places in the pieces she paints. And her work's terrific.
Yeah, and it's currently 2 a.m. in Prague. So we recorded this interview earlier this week. So let's watch it together and get to know Marcela.
So welcome, Marcela, all the way from Prague in the Czech Republic. Wow, this is a first for us. That's terrific. It's so
Nice to hear you, nice to see you, and thank you very much for the chance to participate in RAVE Virtual Fair.
Yeah, you're welcome. When we chose you because when we saw your work, you've done a really good job with your abstracts, and Hannah and I both love the work. So
can you tell us a little bit about when you started painting?
Yes, it was exactly at my 33 years, when I was 33 years old. I was working at the Institute of Economy as a scientist. And this time, well, I wasn't too much happy in this work. And I had one colleague by origin Tunisian, and he showed me how to make mosaics. And that was the real beginning of my art career, I can say. And at that time, I realized that this is my last and the only one chance to change, to make the great changes in my life. And I concentrate on it very hardly, very much. So first steps and procedure of the mosaic, it was a direct method. So I don't know if you know the procedure, but you have to prepare the axial inverted motif, lay it down the glass, and on the surface of the glass, you glue the pieces of the mosaics. And that means that you don't see the real picture or the real effect, if your work is correct or no, because you see the back side of the motif. Yes, then lay the concrete on it and so on. But what was interesting that it was in 1989, the time of the Velvet Revolution in my country, and it was really beginning. So I started to cut the pieces of the stained glass. It's very hard glass piece, using as in the swimming pools and so. And I cut it with my hands, put it in the plastic bag because it was very dangerous. I used the pliers and cut it, and keen fragments were falling down around. And I watched the TV, fascinated, because of the event of the Velvet Revolution. Yes, I remember it exactly. This first 2 days. Later, we went to the demonstrate also, and so. I remember my beginnings of the work with the mosaics in this way.
Yeah, and then you advance to the abstract paintings that you're doing now behind you, and
yes, it was a long period with a lot of breaks, but from this more classic paintings, I now tend to abstract. Last 7 years, and I want to. I like this mixing of colors, the work with the colors. I like to use the ornaments in my paintings because I have very nice memories for my travels, for my journeys to Orient, to Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, Syria, Jordani, and so. You can find some ornaments in my paintings from this period too. And so spirals, lines, different shapes, and some touches of world around. I mean, some monuments.
yeah, and I would encourage the people watching to go to your RAVE page and check it out, because I have another screen here. I can look on it, and the use of the color white and the lighter colors really make your paintings pop. And you can certainly see the artifacts, trees, objects, you know,
Yes.
you know, the Forgotten World piece, for instance, that's behind you is just terrific. And
Nice, thank you.
yeah, and you've done a really good job with incorporating your travels into your painting. So it's a really good theme that you've done. That's why we picked you as one of our artists. So, you know, good job there. And your prices are very reasonable, you know.
Yes. Thank you for this information. You see, my country is a very small one, and we have very low art market. So also the prices developed are dependent on it. And yes, what can I do?
We have people watching from all over the world, and you know, we can ship anywhere. So if they buy some of your work, we'll be able to get it to them. They should know that.
Yeah.
Well, it's really been nice having you, and getting to know a new friend in the Czech Republic has been very special.
Thank you. I appreciate your work and your help to the artists.
Hopefully, the Czech Republic is doing well with the pandemic, and we can meet Marcella at one of our live events. I think she would do well.
Absolutely. So next up, we're going to step inside the studio with Agassi. And Agassi is an Armenian painter and sculptor, best known for his romantic oil paintings. Let's take a quick trip inside his studio inside California to see how he creates one of his sculptures. This video is very entertaining. You're going to love it.
Fast. The video was really well done.
I agree.
Yeah. Make sure you check out Agassi's booth page too to see more of his sculptures and his paintings. His paintings are really unique and captivating. And seriously, when I looked at, I'd never seen his work before. When I looked at the work, I'm like, oh my God, he's really good. It's got this romanticism to it, and the work's excellent. So.
It really is. So next up, we are going to step inside another studio with TJ Silverlake. And TJ Silverlake has such a fascinating career, ranging from landscape design to art curation to teaching art at 2 universities. TJ Silverlake has a passion for delving into technique and the use of the newest tools of the time. His digital art masterpieces will captivate you. Take a look.
Hi, my name is TJ Silverlake. I'm an artist living in Southern California. My work involves people, landscape, cities, buildings, clouds, sky, things that I love, things that I find images for, whether it's on my own iPhone or an internet search. I composite these images to tell a story, to tell a complex story. I am a person who loves abstract expressionism, but also loves hyperrealism. So what I've tried to do with my work is combine those 2 areas. And hopefully I've done that. So thank you and enjoy the work.
So TJ was I consider him like one of the founders of digital art. He actually constructs those pieces, and check out his booth page, you'll see what I mean. He's the real deal. He worked with John Baldessari and Mike Kelly, and he's studied art, and I admire his work. So Hannah, let's get back to nature. I think we have one more talk tonight, right?
We do. We have one more art talk titled Inspired by Nature, and inspiration is so important to artists, and it comes to each artist in different ways. Joining us tonight is Kate Taylor, Linnell Nellison, Linda Roberts, and Philip Gagnon as we explore how nature has inspired each of them, followed up by another artist who is also inspired by nature, Rachel Tribble. Enjoy.
Welcome, everyone. Good to see you guys.
Hi.
Hi.
See you.
15 months of the pandemic and counting, right? But we're ready to rock and roll now, I'm sure. I mean, everybody's itching to get back to live events, right?
Absolutely.
We have our first one coming up in September in Brooklyn, and we can't wait to get there. Kelly and I actually did a little traveling recently. We went up to Seattle and then got on a plane and flew to Kansas City and went to the Ozarks to a friend's lake house. And it was like, oh my, I swear, this is what happened. I get to SeaTac Airport and we're traveling with a flight attendant. She's a good friend of ours. And she takes off to go through some secret entrance, right? The flight attendant. I totally forgot what to do. I'm like, what do I do? And the airport was packed. I mean, packed up in Seattle. And I literally look at Kelly, I go, what do we do? I mean, I kind of forgot how to travel in the last few months. And we fly a lot. So anyway, we're here to talk about inspiration. And inspiration is obviously so important to artists, you know, and really nature. I'm a huge hiker and love to be outside, thus going to the Ozarks and doing all that stuff. But so why don't you tell us how nature inspires you? And let's start with you, Kate.
Well, I think for me, you know, I'm kind of a born and bred city girl, but my parents have always had this family cottage that has always been a hugely important part of my life. And that's 14 acres of land in the middle of nowhere on a gorgeous lake. And so for me, it's always been kind of that yin yang of this energy of the city and the inspiration and the calm tranquility of the country. And then since the pandemic, I've had the really ability to kind of move up there and experience the winter and really experience the flow of nature in a much more intimate way. And so I really have enjoyed that. And I enjoy kind of capturing less of the actual representation of nature and more of the energy and the feeling and the tranquility and the movement of nature. And so that's really where my inspiration comes from, is trying to absorb that, I don't know, that Shinrin Yoku, that green bathing that you gain when you're actually in nature, try and absorb that into the painting so that kind of people can experience that when they're living with them.
And we can see a couple of your paintings behind you, and yeah.
They're very floral right now. I'm very happy.
I love it.
Right, definitely signature Kate Taylor paintings, that's for sure. How about you, Philip?
Oh, myself? Well, I was raised up out in New Brunswick in Canada along the Gaspé when I was a little kid. And I remember the stormy weather, you know, the wintertime and in the fall. And we lived right along the coast. And it was just amazing just watching all that. Then later on, when we moved to British Columbia up north, we were up in Terrace, BC. And so we were Prince Rupert, Kitimat, Queen Charlotte Islands. And just amazing weather, and the sea coast is just gorgeous. And for me, I just love that energy of a storm. I love stormy weather, and I love how it comes crashing. I told my wife I'd love to retire sometime back along the coast of BC, Vancouver Island, Oregon, along that area, and just to see that power. And I wasn't trained, you know, in a fine arts college or anything, so I just picked it up when I was a kid and continued painting. So I just love the colors, you know, I love the contrasts. I love the energy that comes up between all those things. And so that's what inspires me. Yeah, there's art everywhere, and it just, yeah, just love to try to capture it as well as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So storms.
Yeah, I love a good storm. My wife will catch me outside sometimes and getting soaked in the rain because I just, I just love the.
I love that too. As I lived in,
Yeah.
I lived
Yeah.
right on Lake Huron for a number of years as well. In the storms, you could see them coming across the lake because it's such a huge lake. And yeah, just the energy of the storms and that joyful exuberance between kind of the energy of it and the exuberance and excitement of it is just fabulous.
Yeah, you know, I was born and raised here in California, but I sold my company years ago to a company in Ohio, then bought it back, obviously. But Hannah was raised in Ohio. And do you remember going out in the front yard and watching those storms roll in?
Yeah, it would be
crazy.
sunny 1 minute and then pitch black the next minute. But it's fun.
Exactly. They don't have that here in California, you know, not like that. How about you, Linnell?
Well, so I've lived in Lincoln, Nebraska all of my life, and just over the last probably 10 years, I've had opportunities to travel, and we were standing there looking over the cliffs of Moher in Ireland, and then we went from there to North Carolina, and we were hiking around in the mountains up there, and it was just a life-changing experience that I think really brought into my art, my paintings, a lot more vibrancy, I think. And I love stormy weather. I love painting lightning and clouds and storms, and I'll oftentimes be standing out in the middle of the yard when we have a horrible storm moving in, and my husband's hollering from the front door, "You're gonna be shot with lightning." And I'm like, I'm just standing here looking around getting ideas, but I get ideas from everything, you know, whether you're hiking, and out in the North Carolina was amazing. I could see how people would love to just buy a cabin and move up there and live. The colors on the mountains and, you know, and the sunsets and stuff are just, it's beautiful there. And I do like to try to capture movement, you know, like, well, I had a gal tell me one time that my paintings remind her of still life moving. She said how I paint, like, you know, the water, the flowers, they seem to just move, I guess. But yeah, I'm all about electricity and vibrancy in the paintings, and want to get that feel across, whether it's storms or, you know, mist moving or.
Yep. And you guys are all Northerners. I guess that's what we would call them, right, Hannah?
Well,
Northerners.
in Canada, we're Southerners. I'm a Southerner. I'm in
Yeah.
Toronto.
True.
All right, Linda, let's switch over to you. Tell us what inspires you in nature.
Well, just about everything. Like everybody else, I love storms. I love the big clouds, the big puffy clouds that we get here in Montana. But I'm a country girl. I wasn't raised in the city. I've lived in the city, but I was born and raised in the Ozarks, actually. And you know, stormy weather and tornadoes and those big dark black clouds that form up, but the water too. Where I lived, there was so many natural springs and a lot of water, and flowing water. It's just, and the way the light catches it inspires me, the peacefulness of the water. And then, you know, I've lived on the West Coast and I love the ocean. I love that too. But now I'm in Montana, and the fall colors, and again, the way the light hits the water, and it just inspires me that way. I love storms. I love, yeah.
I think the wonderful thing about nature too is that it's the gift that keeps giving. You know, it's you can live in this nature and you can live in the same space for so many years. I've been going to my cottage for 40 years. But you know, you see it differently every season. And you know, for me, this is the first time I've actually stopped and really watched the seasons change, and really being able to see every single day how things change. And it's a different inspiration every day. And I think for me, this series kind of came from that, really seeing the birth of spring after a long, hard winter where the lake is frozen. And it was just, you know, it really was quite remarkable.
Yeah, I love the change of seasons too. You know, the aspen in the fall, the colors are just fantastic.
Yeah.
I also love what nature does to old buildings, you know, like my ghost town images. I had a person tell me one time at one of the ghost towns that they don't restore the buildings, they keep them in a state of controlled dilapidation. And but that's what nature does to them, you know, it kind of just wears them down. So all of that is hugely inspiring to me.
That's great. It's really cool that we can take this one concept of nature and see it, behind all of your backgrounds in completely different ways. So what do you each feel when you get inspired for a new piece? I guess Kate, we'll start with you.
I think for me, it's really all about the feeling. Like for me, it's about the actual execution and production of the piece versus the end result is really kind of more important to me. And so I typically will only paint when I'm feeling joyful and I'm feeling in a good positive mood, because that's what I want my paintings to be. And if I'm kind of feeling not so joyful that day, I do find that going out and sitting at the end of the dock with my feet in the water, or just listening to the birds. Even if I'm in the city, Toronto's a very green city, so there's always a lot of, birds and stuff around. And I find that puts me into the right frame of mind to be able to then translate that onto the canvas and capture, hopefully, kind of that joy of when you feel really deeply joyful when you're in the presence of nature.
Yeah. What about you, Philip?
Oh, well, there's so many scenes and so many places. I mean, I love seascapes, as I said, and storms and those kinds of things. Hawaii, especially as well. And when I see a scene that really, kind of touches me, inspires me, is my main thing is I just want to get painting, just get back to the studio and clean off my oil off my palette, put my rock music on, and pour my little whiskey, and then just get to the painting. That's what I want to do. And so, it's, my wife can always tell, like, oh, we better get home or whatever, because it's time to get to it. And yeah, it's the energy that's there. It captivates you. You're enthralled, right? And you've got to, get it. It's interesting. The word thrall is a Viking word. It means slave, and it means to be enslaved, right? So you're enthralled to that image, that inspiration, and you got to get it out, right? And so that's for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Fun fact.
Yeah, little fun fact. And what about you, Linnell?
So mine starts as like I wake up a lot at night with ideas, and it almost feels like an urging, I guess, you're just driven to get in here and just start. And you just and it stays that way, that urging. Like, in fact, the other day I was in here, I started painting at 8:30 in the morning, and I totally forgot to come out and have lunch, and the next thing I know, I look down at my clock and it's like 3:30. So I've been in here from 8:30 in the morning until 3:30, and it felt like I was in here for an hour maybe. And that sense of that urging and that pushing, and it's just really hard to explain. Even if we're taking a trip somewhere and I get that feeling, it's almost awful, because I can't. The best I can do is like sketch it, and but it just doesn't seem to satisfy that feeling until you get back home and you actually start on the project and start painting and brushing it. It just doesn't. That urging just sticks with you and doesn't get any better. It doesn't go away. So. Mm-hmm. And then when you're done, because then you kind of look at it and that feeling just kind of subsides, and you're like, no, I think it's done.
Cathartic.
So, mm-hmm. It's like a wave.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you, Linda?
Well, I don't plan my images. I mean, I tell people I'm not a painter, I push a button. But when I have in mind to go shoot something, if I have something particular I want to shoot and I go out, I don't often get that, but I will get something else. Because when I'm in my area, in the area that I go, you calm down and you look around and see what is there. It isn't always what you had in mind. But when I get inspired by a image, whether it's as I'm shooting it or after I've processed it, it's almost like a tingle. It's just a little tingle, like, oh, this is good. I like this. And I know I've got something and I have to move forward. And occasionally, or sometimes it'll happen when I'm shooting, I'll see a scene and go, I have to get that. I have to capture that. And then I do, and it works out usually fine. Otherwise, like in my ghost towns, or if I go out just shooting water, I will take photographs of various things. And then when I come back into the studio, initially I'll process them and sometimes go, I really don't have much. And then I'll go back a couple of weeks later and go, oh, I really do have something here. It's a process for me. But when I know I have something that's worthwhile, it's almost a tingle. It's like a aha moment in my head. I don't know any other way to explain it.
Very good. Yeah. Well, for those people watching, if you're interested in nature pieces, all 4 of these artists have work represented on the RAVE site and on our redwoodartgroup.com site, and you can get in touch with them directly and purchase work from them. But thanks, you guys. It's been great. And you know, all I've been reading about is the national parks and how crowded they are, because everybody's tired of COVID and they're all rushing to the national parks. And so your landscapes and paintings and nature paintings should do really well this year.
I think they have been. I find through COVID, they really have been doing well, because I think people are craving that connection and to nature.
And I can't wait to get back to live events this September. So thanks for
for sure. Thank you.
I'm excited too.
For joining us.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rachel Tribble. I'm an oil painter and a watercolorist. So what's my process? I paint what I see in my dreams. The places that I create when I'm painting come from something that I feel is really ancient in every human being, and it's a connection to the stars, a connection to our earth, connection to water, connection to trees, connection to those places that are so deeply rooted in our souls that we don't even know they're there until something sparks that life inside of us, something sparks that connection. And our hearts are opened and we're reminded. I want to always feel that thing that I feel when I'm sitting in the forest all alone, or when it's really quiet at 4 o'clock in the morning and the sun is getting ready to come up and the earth is still asleep. And so that's what I paint, those places that I see, those places that I know. So lately I'm working birds into my paintings, and it sometimes takes me a long time to figure out exactly what these trees or birds or water is trying to say. It's more like my job to just start to draw, start to paint, and then it will reveal itself. The trees to me are ancient friends that are here watching over us, protecting us. And when I was little, I used to really feel that the bark of oak trees especially were glyph languages, like these ancient tree languages that were just glyphs. And if you looked really closely at the bark, you could see the language and the shape of the letters, which aren't really letters, right? They're more like hieroglyphics or some other kind of glyph. And that was what was speaking to me, was the fact that these ancient beings were here on Earth, and they were here as my friends. And so it is that love for oak trees, willows, like weeping willows, and banyan trees, because now I live down in Florida and I have banyan trees where I live, and they are amazing beings that are here. So that's what the trees are to me, and always speaking about life and water and their roots in the earth and what is that tree of life.
Hannah, come back.
I'm back. Oh, looks like we have Laura with her hand raised.
Hey, I just wanted to thank everyone on the chat, as always, for spending, Friday night with us. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Craig in Orange County. We love you. Rita from Toronto, Marcella from Prague, and John Stock in San Diego. Yeah, everybody from all over showed up.
Thanks for staying up late, Marcella.
Really?
And thank Rachel for that video. And you can check out her work on our site. It was really well done. We had quite a few visitors last night, like almost 500 or something. So, and then the video go out and more people will watch it. So thanks for supporting all the artists, everyone.
Absolutely. And that is a wrap on RAVE. You'll want to be sure to check out all of the artworks from today's artists and all of our RAVE exhibitors. Write a note in their guest book, as we mentioned earlier, and make sure to come back again and again, as the booth pages will remain up through July. And that's a wrap. It was really, really great being with you all the last 2 evenings and the last 4 RAVE events. We hope you guys had fun hearing the inspirations and the journeys and exploring artist studios with us, taking you around the world into different artist booths, which is exciting and something that we don't get to do during live events, but we are very ready to get back to live events.
And if you're a collector, come join us at one of our events. And if you see me, tap me on the shoulder and we'll get a glass of wine together. And if you're an artist or a gallery and you'd like to sign up for one of our events, go to redwoodartgroup.com and check out the site.